Back on, Gertie Rude, back again, that Saturday mood. It's Saturday, it's sunny, it's beautiful where I am in Sussex, and I hope wherever you are in the world, it's equally as beautiful. Sunny, warm, beautiful spring day. If I say beautiful again, I'm going to have to click off. Right, here we go, we're going to have a look at this. No longer a Windsor. There we go. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle is banished by the royals as Diana's family step in. Well, that's the first I've heard of that. Anyway, let's just jump in because Ange is looking particularly divine today and I'm well gel. So let's go.
Doesn't feel like his brother is part of the family because of the disgusting, shocking, terrible things that Harry has done. And right. I don't blame William for saying that he never wants to speak to him again.
Well, yeah, hyperbole, yeah. But, hyperbole. So there we go. Don't know whether he's done enough to actually be made to not be a Windsor because he's just born one of them, isn't he? But yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to go a very good way for him should, unfortunately, King Charles not last as long as, say, the Queen did. Let's put it that way. And then his brother, the King, steps in. I think he's going to be in a whole world of stew. There we go. I've said it now.
I don't blame William for trying to protect Catherine, the Princess of Wales, who Harry treated so appallingly. Terrible. From the point of view that silence is violence, because he didn't say anything, and the way they were treating her last year, I think it was about this time last year actually, and some of the talking heads that have since redeemed themselves were also on that gravy train. But let's not talk about that. Let's go. Come on then. Meghan with the leaking of their private WhatsApp messages. And I also don't blame William for wanting Prince Harry to have nothing to do with his 3 children, including the future king, Prince George, because he knows that Harry will feed a whole load of toxic information.
And that's very sad because before the Markle, he was very close to his nephew. Because I think Charlotte was probably about 2 or 3. So George would have been about 5 when it all ended. In other words, he took up with the Markle. Oh, hang on. Because he was born in 2013 and he took up with the Markle in 16. It all went hairy in 18. So yeah, he was about 5, wasn't he? And it was a big shame. But his security name was Archie, which is sort of weird. But we're not allowed to say anything. So I better not, do you get me? Oh my God, that woman. Right, let's go.
Into their head about the royal family. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't think William has done anything wrong by thrusting Harry out of the family and saying no.
Well, I would do the same. I mean, you know, we've probably all got a family member that you wouldn't leave with your kids. Not for the reasons that you know me. You know, the thing I talk about, child abuse. I mean, it doesn't have to be that far, you know. It's just somebody that you think, do you know what? You're so off whack. I really don't want you around my kids because you talk a load of nonsense. It's that type of thing, isn't it? I mean, I had a distant family member that told my children, without me knowing, when they were young, they were probably 6 and 7, something like that, and a family gathering. I laugh now, but I was crazy at the time. And I didn't find out till years later that this particular distant family member had told my children that he was in the SAS and he was one of the people in the, was it the Iranian embassy siege, which was about 1979, when this family member was about 5, you know. But being as how he was playing to the gallery in the 90s and talking to 2 little children, they believed him. Do you get me? It's that sort of thing. How dare you? How dare you? Do you get me? And then say to them, don't tell anybody because it's a secret that I'm in the SAS or I was in the SAS. I mean, you know. Oh dear, it's all he could do to get himself to the buffet. You know what I mean? One of them. So yeah, it's that type of thing. It doesn't have to be necessarily as far as you think they would, you know, harm them. I mean, obviously that goes without saying that you wouldn't want your children around somebody like that, whether they're family or not family. It could be silly, insidious stuff that you think, you know, how dare you do that? How dare you say that to my children? And I think that's the sort of issue, and that's more the area that we're dealing with Harry. Now, when you go to the Markle, if you remember, her brother did say don't let her around children and animals, so that would probably be a different kettle of fish, which I'm not going to go into. No, I like my channel too much. Bye-bye.
Or a Windsor, because he hasn't acted like a Windsor.
There it goes.
Breaking right now.
Oh.
No longer a Windsor.
Oh.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle
Right.
have been banished by the royals
Oh, dear.
as his late mother Diana's family, the Spencers,
Yes.
rally around the estranged Duke.
Right.
Now,
Strange
this is
Duke.
a revelation that has
I
come
don't know about
from...
estranged, but estranged. Yeah, not sure what to make of this, really. That's the older sister, isn't it? I don't know whether it's Jane or Sarah. I think Sarah's the one with the ginger hair, so this must be Jane. And that's obviously the Earl. So, not sure what to make of that. Because they do seem to be quite close to him. They kind of popped up from nowhere. Maybe they were really involved and we just didn't know that they were involved. But, yeah, they seem to have rallied around him. Well, good for them. Good for them. They can... they're very welcome to him, basically, aren't they? Good luck with that, guys. Anyway, let's go.
Paul Burrell, very interesting guy, of
Yes.
course. He was Princess Diana's butler
Yeah,
for
not
many
sure about
years,
Mr. Burrell.
her rock, but has since fallen out significantly
Yes.
with both Prince William and Prince Harry. However, he has claimed that Harry is simply no longer a Windsor when he visits the UK because the Duke's other family open him with welcome arms and without hesitation.
Oh.
He says that while in the UK, Harry's natural place to visit is their Althorpe estate in Northamptonshire, where Diana is buried. He believes the Spencer family have put their arms around Harry and want to protect him.
Well-
adding, when he goes through the doors at Althorpe, he becomes a Spencer like his mother.
Well-
To them,
I'm not sure, because obviously I don't know any of the protagonists in this story, but I'm not sure that an erstwhile discredited butler would know this. So it's an opinion piece rather than fact. And saying that when he goes through the door at Althorpe, he becomes a Spencer. Well, he's a Spencer before he walks through the doors at Althorpe, doesn't he? Really? If you get me, he is, isn't he? So, again, it could be just hyperbole. And he does like to... He gets paid for speaking, old Burrell, so he finds something to say, doesn't he? Yeah, well, good luck to them all, as I say. At least he's got somebody. So, yeah, maybe they have got sort of beef, but they don't talk about it in public. We don't know, do we?
they feel he's been abandoned by the royal family,
No.
and so his natural place
No.
to visit when he returns to the UK is their Althorpe House estate in Northamptonshire.
But the
It's
thing
where
is, he's worried about his security, and now everybody knows when he comes to Britain, he goes to the Althorpe estate. What's that even about? I hope they've got good security, because he's always worried about his security. So I'd imagine they have, because it's a massive big estate, isn't it? And it's a shame, because I quite love Charles, the brother. I quite sort of warmed to him in one way or another. Why, I don't know. And I was really quite shocked that he's left yet another woman for another woman. I was just shocked that he'd left a woman for a woman, if that makes sense. That's all I'm saying. I wasn't shocked that he'd left her. We're used to that with him. He goes for him, like, doesn't he, a dose of salts. But I was more shocked that he took up with yet another woman. So, yeah, that's a thing. And let's just crack on.
Anna's final resting places too, so it gives Harry a great deal of comfort to be there, especially given the ongoing conflict with his brother and
Yeah, but
father.
brother and father, it's conflict of his own making. I don't think anyone else made it. I know we've heard all about the dog bowl or one thing and another. Yeah, and that's another thing that occurred to me. It occurred to me at the time, years ago, when I heard the story. You all know, because you're all like me, yeah? That when the Marklet first met William, she was a bit Bertie-flirty, wasn't she? She was a little bit Bertie-flirty. And have any of you ladies experienced that? Because I know I have. Because if you remember, Catherine was quite heavily pregnant with Louis when they first met. Was it 2016? When they were first introduced, and they went to tea or to dinner or something at Notcott. Oh, I know all the lingos, darling. Yes, I'm up there with the echelons, you know. Yes, well, I'm not, but you know what I mean. So, and she was barefoot. We've heard from her, we've heard from him.
and she was huggy and kissy, in other words, flirty. And can you imagine being like heavily pregnant and you're meeting your erstwhile de facto new sister-in-law, and she's all like that? I can just, knowing her as we know her and love her, I could just imagine, you know. And then we had the baby brain comment, didn't we, which was offensive. Yes, have you ever had that? Because I know I've had that, when you're heavily pregnant and some bird just is all over your husband, you know. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous, because you know the coo better than what she does. But yes, often they just make idiots of themselves. So there could have been that to it. And she probably thought, well, she's heavily pregnant, he's bound to, like, fancy me or what, something, you know, because some birds, especially birds like her, that's how they think, don't they? It's narcissism, darling. Because, yeah, she definitely didn't get herself about the place and let women flirt with Harry when she was pregnant, did she? No, not at all. A lot of the time she was on her own when she was over here pregnant with Archie. And when she was pregnant with Lily, we never saw or heard hide nor hair of her, did we? I think we got a couple of dodgy photographs from that bloke that I can't think what his name is. You know, the one that's always taking photographs of her, that one. Is it Misha Harriman? You know the one I mean, don't you? Yeah, but they were taken on Zoom using the excuse of the lockdown, which had sort of finished by then. So, of them lying under the tree with her pregnant with Lily. Oh, it's all weird, isn't it? It's all crazy. Still, anyway, there we go. That happened, and we're going to move on now and find out what dear Andrew's got to say. Come on, Andrew.
Angela, I'm sorry, I have a real issue with
Come on,
this.
Angie.
This is Angela Lynn,
Tell
by the way, Prince Harry's biographer, our royal mastermind.
Yes.
Thank you, great to have you back, Angela. But I have a real issue with this.
We've all got a real
because,
issue.
as far as I'm
She's
concerned,
nuts.
the Spencers are doing this for their own reasons, and it takes into account not for one single
Well, what
second
reasons are they doing it? We
what
don't know, do
Meghan
we?
Markle and
What are
Prince
they gonna get
Harry
out of
have
it?
done to the royal family. So Harry and Meghan haven't attacked the Spencers in a best-selling book. They haven't gone on Oprah Winfrey and said that there's a secret racist operating within the Spencer family. Of course the Spencer family have a different relationship.
Well, you see, we're speculating. It's pure speculation because people actually don't know the dynamic between the Spencers and Diana's, both of Diana's sons. We don't know that they might not actually be just as close to William as much as they can be, considering William is as busy as he is as the heir to the throne and the Prince of Wales. Sorry about that. As the Prince of Wales. And, yeah, we don't know that Harry is more available to be close to them than, say, what William is. But they would be just as close to William, but he's such a busy man. We don't know whether Diana's nieces, children, has her niece got children yet? Have they? Or the children of the sisters don't mix with William as cousins because they're first cousins on the maternal side, and their children play with George and that. We don't know these things. We do know that they, or I don't know whether they do now, but they used to live on the Sandringham estate, didn't they? Until he attained the earldom. That's how the Spencers were brought up alongside the Windsors. Like they used to play with Andrew and Edward when they were children. So I'm not sure what that's about. Oh, Louis Spencer is he's the heir to the earldom of Spencer, Altrop. And has he got children yet? I know he's an actor. He's an actor in America. I don't know anything about him. But obviously Louis, I think the fact that William named his youngest son, because that is an aristocratic thing as well, despite the fact he's the Prince of Wales, because obviously George was named for the Queen's dad. It was a nod to his heritage on the Windsor side, and Louis was named for the maternal heir to the Dukedom of Altrop, wasn't it? The Spencers, yeah? Because that's Charles's son's name. So I would have thought if they've named one of their children with a nod to the fact that the maternal side of William's family, the heir is called Louis, that wouldn't suggest that they're sort of estranged from each other. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Do they probably, swap birthday and Christmas cards, the load of them, and their family? It's too much to speculate on the negative when we don't really know. But the other side is, as I've said, Harry is more available to be a member of their family and to be popping in and out of Altrop, if that makes sense. Yeah, he never takes a marklet though, does he? Do you get me? Say no more.
Prince Harry, and I also find this constant lionising
Right.
of Charles Spencer, Diana's brother, who gave that very memorable eulogy at her funeral, pretty damn galling, given that he'd fallen out with Princess Diana before her death.
He wouldn't let her live there.
Yes. I mean, when she was very, very depressed and she was no longer with Charles, she did ask him if she could stay and live in a cottage on his many.
And what was his answer,
No,
Angela?
it's no.
His answer was no.
N-O. I don't want the hassle. I don't want to have to deal.
Yeah, but at the time, I mean, you know, it's great to have, hindsight is magnificent. At the time, she was at the very height of being chased by the paparazzi around Britain. It was just during the divorce, before the divorce and immediately after the divorce, that she hit upon this idea. Because every aristocratic estate, apart from the big house, has always got other buildings on its estate, which is vast. So she wanted a cottage, and when you think of a cottage, it probably more like what we call a manor house, but the aristos would call it a cottage. I mean, Longleat's like that. Everywhere you go around Longleat, they've got all these little buildings hidden away where he's got all his wifelets. The old Duke, not the new one. Was his name? I can't think what his name. Thynne, Lord Thynne of Longleat. Thynne, is it? I'm sure it's Thynne. Yeah, I've been to a few of these I've been to quite a few of them, and like the Royals themselves, they have many other buildings on the estate apart from just their big house and their servants' quarters and their stables and whatever things they have. So yeah, but was that a thing? Would that have changed? Was it just in the heat of the moment? Because it's also a known thing that when the guy that's the Lord dies, or in his case, Charles' father died, the Earl, Johnny Spencer, and then Charles Spencer inherited the estate, that the female relatives directly descended from Johnny are off the estate. That's always been a thing. I mean, you've only got to read Jane Austen or Charlotte Bronte to know that. So to let them back on is kind of like, because you marry them well and move them off, they don't like hang around on the estate, even if they were bachelor or spinster sisters, more like. I think we call them bachelor nowadays, but in those days they would have been called spinsters. So was it a sort of nod to tradition that he was like, no, I don't really want my sister or any of my sisters getting their feet back in my estate again? Not forgetting that he's quite a proliferation of children himself, old Charles, isn't he? And wifelets, I'll have you know. Yes, he collects them. He collects them a bit like Monopoly pieces or whatever, yeah?
With the security and all of the attention.
And he pushed her away when she was really at her lowest. Well, I can't think very well of him at that occasion, particularly when...
I like her outfit. You look really, really nice and really well coordinated. Love it. Not too much, not too little. Great. But we've got to take a look back in history because I was alive then, and if you took it from 1 to 10, at the time, I'd say Diana was past 10 plus on public figure. She was every magazine, every newspaper, day in, day out. Diana. So I suppose Charles might have thought that they're going to have the paparazzi, hiding in his bushes on his estate. Because obviously he's got the rest of his life to regret saying no to his sister. But that specific time in that place... I mean, here's another one. Now, George V was asked... George V's sister, was the mother of the Tsar of Russia, Nicholas. It was... I can't think what her name is now. It was... I do know it, but I've got brain fog. So, anyway, Queen Alexandra's sister was the mother of the Tsar Nicholas of Russia. Now, he appealed to his first cousin George and said, please, can me and my family be exiled to your country? We'll run away from Russia, we'll escape through Sweden and make our way to Britain. Will you give us sanctuary? Will you, protect us? And he said no. No, because he was too worried at the time of there was a socialist sort of leanings and rumblings across Europe, Britain as well. Not as bad as obviously Bolshevik uprising in Russia, but there was that flavour, and you've got to factor that in and just say, oh well, they said no. What a swine. You've got to look at the background, the politics and what was happening, and then conversely, much later on, when Prince Philip's family were running away from where was it? Greece. They were being exiled from Greece. The only reason Philip survived, he's brought out with an empty orange box, wasn't he? Was because George V, or was it George VI, sent a gunboat to pick them up. Pretty sure it's George V. Yeah, it was George V. Because he'd made that mistake, and he had the hindsight of history to live with him for the rest of his life, of what happened to his first cousin, because he denied him sanctuary. When it then happened to another member of the family, because George was also George's mum's brother, was the great-great-grandfather of Prince Philip of Greece, yeah? He sent a gunboat over to pick the family up, so he only got Philip because of that. So, had he not made that mistake, would he have sent gunboats? You know, it's a dichotomy. History and hindsight are great things to look back on, but you can't really blame Charles for saying, well, no, I don't want you here. I'm sure, like I said, because the minute something did go wrong, he took over as the head of his family and he put her in the heart of his estate. And as I say, he has got the rest of his life to sort of beat himself up about saying, in that one moment when he made that decision and said, rather not, he's, the paps everywhere and hiding in bushes. Don't forget, he'd opened it to the public and everything, and he'd made quite a big venture of Altrop. And then to think of having Diana living there, what would that do to the business? And all the aristocracy, so many had gone under post-World War One, and then again post-World War Two, that the ones that are left standing were scrabbling around to survive, especially in the 90s. So hindsight is a great thing, darlings, and I don't really blame him. It's too crass because we weren't him. We don't know what would happen, because she could have moved into Altrop, and then nothing would have happened in the Paris underpass that day. We just don't know, do we? We don't know.
He did speak at the funeral when he said that he's going to look after Harry because they have the same blood, and he's going to make sure that they're okay.
Well, no, he didn't. Darling, Angie, I love you to bits. You know I do. You're a style icon to me. But he didn't say Harry. He said the boys. He said her children, her sons. Both of them.
But he didn't. He hasn't
and make
really
sure that their
done
souls get
and
to
actually,
sing and play
Harry
and be
hasn't
free.
really wanted that either.
Something like
frankly.
that.
I mean, a little while ago, a few months ago, he invited Harry to stay overnight or for 2 or 3 days. He was coming up for one of the court issues, and he said no, thank you. So they're not close at all, and I don't think that that's quite right. I mean, there might be something there that's true, but when the king has said that he can stay at one of the royal buildings, he said no and gone off to a hotel. So that doesn't mean that he's been shut out, quite the contrary. It's just saying that you know.
But is that a fact? Do we know? I mean, I know Angie's saying it's probably 90%, 99% it is true. I don't know whether it's true. Obviously, I'm hoping that because she said it, she knows it to be true. Is that a thing? Does he, go and stay in a hotel? I suppose he must do. But they've said you can come and stay in, like, Buckingham Palace if you're in London and you go into the Crown Court. Does that sound likely? Does it sound likely? I don't know. I'm asking you guys because you're more in it than what I am. I don't know whether it sounds like... It's like Judge Judy said, if it doesn't sound right, it's probably because it's not true. I mean, the thing is, he probably does come over and just stay and book a hotel to come over and stay because he's going to the Crown Court. It's going to be a couple of days. Does he even tell his family? Because from what I've heard, how can he possibly tell them when every time he rings or emails, they don't answer him? So that sort of doesn't make sense, the dichotomy in the different accounts we're getting. I would say no. He doesn't get oh, well, if you're coming over, feel free to stay in Buckingham Palace. I would say he's actually a maverick now and he's working on his own. And they only know he's over here because probably the courts of justice, they probably tell them, oh, by the way, your son's coming over, he's back in court again. And if they don't hear it from an official around them or a courtier, they'll probably see it on the news, wouldn't they? To be fair, they would.
This is what we've got for you. And it's very secure because there are people there all the time looking after it. But Harry says, it's not secure enough. Now, I bet you that there are not a whole load of people there looking after Harry at some hotel, because it won't make any sense. People will go there. You'll have loads of journalists out there and photographers. So he sort of creeps in there without having protection.
The likelihood of him being spotted and papped is more likely in a hotel than in a secure palace, where you could be picked up at the airport and driven in blacked out with, blacked out windows, car, like a limousine or whatever, Mercedes, straight into the Buckingham Palace or St James's Palace or Marlborough House or any of the other places that they have at their availability, and not, or Clarence House. Clarence House is also, that was the Queen Mum's old house. I think Charles inherited that. So, even around just the centre of London, he has a number of palaces and stately homes he could stay in that wouldn't affect any member of the royal family because they probably aren't there. They're probably at Windsor because, don't forget, William and Catherine are based there because their children go to school there. Do you remember? So that's why they used to live at Anmer House on the Sandringham estate and go to nurseries and school up that way. And then they got booked in to go to school in around Windsor. Because obviously they've booked thingy into Eton, haven't they? So that's why they stay around Eton, and then in the holidays and high days they go to the Sandringham estate to Amber House to holiday type of thing. So swapped over. I'm not sure where I'm going with that, but I would have thought it would just be more practical that he's coming over for a court case, blah de bleeding blah. He's booked his flight. He's booked the to pick him up like a chauffeur, I suppose, an Uber driver. Do you think he gets an Uber? Someone like that, and they take him straight to a hotel. Which, as I say, he doesn't really get papped. I haven't seen any photographs of him going in and out of a hotel, because literally no one cares. But if he was going to be papped, he's more likely to be papped going in and out of a hotel than a palace. That's what I'm trying to say.
You shouldn't have it, but he does get away with that.
And no one cares.
So I don't think that there's very much there that he feels.
Yeah, and that's from Charles's point of view, absolutely. But Angela, I would argue from Prince William's point of view and Catherine's point of view, he does now feel like Harry is no longer a Windsor. He doesn't feel like his brother is part of the family because of the disgusting, shocking, terrible things that Harry has done. And I don't blame William for saying
I think he's done a lot of it by silence is violence. I think I've already said that. By not... what I'm trying to say is I think the woman he married is more to blame than him, because he's adult, isn't he? And instead of saying something and standing up and saying, look, that's my family, shut up, the power of her personality and that personality type, you never get peace, would you? You have to just agree with them. You have to just keep your sanity. So I'm sure he regrets it all. But, maybe not. Maybe they're as bad as each other. I do not know. Don't know them, thank God.
Never wants to speak to him again. I don't blame William for trying to protect Catherine, the Princess of Wales,
I think he's
who
cooked
Harry
his goose.
treated so appallingly.
I think he's cooked his goose with William. I really do. I'm more cross with Charles for letting him get away with as much as what he's got away with. But I would have thought, off the top of my head, not knowing, because I don't know, the threats that Harry's said about he's got another book in him, or a couple more books in him, he probably knows where the skeletons are, and I'm talking metaphorically. And he knows that he could write a bestseller and really screw his dad out. But if you've been alive as long as me, you know what his dad's like. His dad's always been like it. He's like a dog with a bone. All through the years of him being Prince of Wales, he would always glean to anybody that had a couple of quid or a bit of influence, wouldn't he? So there probably is some dirt. He was Prince of Wales for far too long. I've lost quite a few subs for saying that I thought the Queen was on the throne for far too long and should have abdicated. I have, but I don't care, because that's what I think, and I'm true to myself. I've always thought it. Every time a royal in Europe would abdicate, I'd hold my breath and think, is she going to abdicate and let her son have a go? Because he was just floundering around in the wilderness, wasn't he? Getting older and older. He was like the biggest, I don't know what you call it, benefit claimant in Britain, wasn't he, old Charles? He was, bless his heart. Right, let's go.
Leaking of their private WhatsApp messages. And I also don't blame William for wanting Prince Harry to have nothing to do with his 3 children, including the future king, Prince George, because he knows that Harry will feed a whole load of toxic information.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I told you the story earlier about the SAS bleeding old rubbish at the Iranian embassy. I mean, how dare you? Who do people think they are? Feeding your children with nonsense like that. It's bad enough the sort of stuff they get told out of your control, which is by state design at something they call schools, which I'm not allowed to comment on, and none of us are allowed to comment on, because, you know, that's just the way it is, girlfriends.
Heard about the royal family. So, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think William has done anything wrong by thrusting Harry out of the family and saying, no, you're no longer a Windsor, because he hasn't acted like a Windsor.
No.
Well, I think if you can do your brothers,
hang on. When you say he hasn't acted like a Windsor, he has. He's acted totally like a Windsor. 100% like a Windsor. A whinging Windsor. You've only got to look at his Uncle David. Great Uncle David. Was it? No, it's great. Because it's his dad's great uncle. So, yeah, it's dad's great uncle, so it's his great uncle. Yeah, totally. And even I know you're going to shout at me and have a go at me, but, you know, Margaret, what an entitled little madam she was, when you think of it. If you read about her life, which I've read many books for and against and in between, and then I always make my own mind up, and I think what an entitled little madam she was. Even though she was blazingly good looking, she was the spare to the heir, wasn't she? And yeah, you know, it does happen. You look into Prince Philip a little bit. Mind you, he wasn't a Windsor, was he? Was he? No, he was a Mountbatten.
Father and son, I think he can get rid of, have any relationship with his brother. But I think it's much harder for the king to do that, his son.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's really ghastly
is
that Harry said that on television,
right,
that one of the great things he's aiming at is to bring up the children of William and Catherine, not so much.
Oh, I remember
George, because he knows it.
That is a pee take, isn't it? That would knock me off, and wouldn't it knock you off if that errant member of your family thought that they were going to be more satisfactory mentors to your children than yourself? Oh my God, I'd lose my whatnot.
His life has been sorted out.
that is really rude.
And the reason he wants to do that is that he wants to tell them how to manage being not used as a top royal person. So, not taking into account that those two.
Oh my God, he could have been an expert in anything. He could have gone off and done whatever he chose to do. It doesn't matter. We live in an egalitarian society nowadays where everybody's equal, apparently, especially from the hooey and the politics that his wife espouses, the wife that he shuts up and lets, you know, take the reins of his life on his behalf. So it wouldn't matter. He could be an expert in anything. He could be an expert in poverty in Africa. He could be an expert in butterflies in Peru. He could be an expert on random trees that grow in the Amazonian forest. He could even be a tree surgeon. He could just actualise in any way he chose to actualise and be his own person. And just get on with what is his God-given right to life. Just enjoy his life. Yes, he has got the top job. He's obviously eaten up with envy about not being, you know, the person in the top job. That's often the way things are. Yeah? But you can't swap it. The fact is, William was born before you. He was destined. He's been groomed all his life that he's going to be king one day. You've got your life. Just go and live it. Go and live it. Go to Tibet and, you know, I don't know, sit with the monks of the Buddhist monks in Tibet or something, or become a Sherpa, or you can literally do whatever you want. You could actually learn to fly a plane or a helicopter and legally and morally accept an award for an aviation hero. You could do all these things. You could do all of them. You could dive to the Mariana Trench and discover new bleeding ocean life. But instead you just sit there with the marklet, whinging and moaning and moaning and whinging, when nobody cares. We've all got far worse pressing problems than you, Barry, on your bleeding private jets, moaning about your security.
Louis and Charlotte are very different from
Right,
him.
if you can hear a lot of banging, it's my grandson. He's boxing in the other room, so sorry about that. There's nothing I can do.
And that doesn't take into it, but he's going to make that as one of his absolutely most important aims. Now, what would anybody do if they think this very, very difficult man, I'm being polite there, wants to do that to their children?
Well, he's not
Nobody
the cleverest.
sees his children. Nobody has any contact with his children.
I mean, can you even imagine William saying, "Oh, I want to protect my niece and nephew at the hands of Harry and Meghan, and I want to make sure that they're brought up in a well-adjusted and focused way with blah blah blah." They would lose their minds. But it's okay for them to say it about William's children. It's sort of dismissing William and Kate. I would be very offended at that. So, anyway, I've had enough, you've had enough, and we're only 8 minutes in and I've rambled on far too much. Anyway, it is what it is, isn't it? I'm fed up. I'm fed up with the whole thing. I just wish they'd shut up. All of them shut up. He went away to be happy. We're all waiting for the happy. We're waiting for a bit of peace and quiet as well, while they do their happy. Bleeding annoying pair of bleeding cretins. Anyway, I love you and leave you wherever you are in the world. Have a great rest of the weekend. Bye-bye now.